Good morning, WTV 60 viewers. It's Dorothy Kelly here today to begin a 4-part series where we look at an issue that one or more of you might have been avoiding addressing for a day, a week, a month, a lifetime. It is not easy to plan an estate. And I'm going to share with you today, in the first of our 4-part series, 10 reasons why you might be avoiding preparing your estate. So I hope when I share these 10 steps with you that you think for yourself which one or more of these obstacles are the biggest ones for me. You have to focus on what is standing in your way first. It'll ease the burden and can eliminate some of the excuses you might be using why you're not taking action. So let's jump right into it. And at the end, I'm going to clue you in what the rest of the topics will be for the month, so you know what's coming up ahead. Reason 1 why you might not already have your estate planning finished. You don't have the time. This one's tricky, isn't it? Because we are challenged every day to have something else be taking up our time. Whatever it is, personal issues, things with our family, our work, our health needs, yard work. You know, we can name dozens of things that actually take up the time, but here's what happens. We set our own priority every day. Believe it or not, even though we feel like we're being pulled in so many directions, and yes, you may be, we have the opportunity to set the priority every day, every minute. This is the most important thing for me to do right now. I'm going to get it in my calendar, and I am going to focus my time. No interruptions. Making yourself and what you want to accomplish a priority is how you can start working around what is considered a time restraint. And something like this with the estate planning, break it down into small chunks. Like what's one step I can take for 15 minutes? Or every Tuesday, I am setting aside the hour from 11 to 12 and I'm going to work on this task. Now that's a doable method, but the truth is, if you only try to do one thing a week, you can easily lose your place, forget what you had already accomplished. And every day, every week, when you go back to the task and go, now where was I? And you have to remember what's the next step, it could create its own challenge. So by committing every day 15, 20 minutes to take some kind of action step can get you over the hurdle, the time management hurdle. People often don't want to plan their estate because they don't want to think about dying. Those two are not related. We don't know when we're going to die. And remember that an estate plan also can include if you become incapacitated, unable in some way to take care of your affairs. So this is not only planning for your death. It's planning for other things that might happen along the way. Being prepared sets you and your loved ones up to knowing what is going to happen. And then facing your emotions around death is a totally separate topic. So if you can get beyond equating the two, I think it'll help you move forward in creating your estate plan. Number 3, big one, you don't understand or need to plan. Understand can be valid. Estate planning is very tricky. Think of how many people work in the field, attorneys, tax attorneys that work to create these documentations. This doesn't have to be your job to actually fill out the forms that you might need, whether you're going to do a trust or a will. So understanding the process is not always your responsibility. But there are so many websites and books, aren't there, where you can start beginning to read. This, believe it or not, becomes important, we'll talk about later. When you go to see the attorney, you have to already have made some decisions about what you want to happen, know what it is you own, have thought about who might be your executor. So the process is a tricky thing. What is the process? At this stage, it's you starting to think about what do you want your estate to look like. Now, the second part of this, the need. So many people think, well, I don't need to have an estate plan. But we are going to be talking about that a lot next week in the topic called dying intestate. What does that mean? We'll get to that. But almost everybody has a need to have some kind of an estate plan, even if it's the most simple, basic will. This goes hand in hand. You don't think you have an estate to worry about. Everybody has decisions that need to be made for when they pass away. If you have children or grandchildren, an estate plan puts in place very vital decisions for their care, for their financial well-being, if you are not there to be that person. So people with children, it's critical to really think through what will happen in the case that I become incapacitated or pass away. Next, we love this one. In fact, this topic is coming up in week 3. Week 3 is called Family Squabbles. And this reason why it's kind of tricky, because when we're talking about why we're avoiding planning the estate, we don't want to think about, what to do with all our stuff. We'll talk about that more further, but we all know how families come out of the woodwork when somebody passes away. And if you do not plan your estate, who knows who's going to end up with your stuff? Maybe somebody that you didn't want to have a particular item, or perhaps even anything. So making these decisions can be an avoidance trigger right on its own, because you have to think through, who do I want to pass on my treasures, my heirlooms, my money to people? Planning the estate not only is time consuming, there are a lot of decisions that have to make, and some of them are emotional and physical, just moving away all of your things. You might end up paying more tax than necessary. In a way, this falls in with the I don't understand the process, because if you don't understand tax rules, you might be giving away more money to the government than you need to. So critical understanding of tax rules is important. That does not mean you need to run out and become a CPA or a tax attorney, but you need to get the right help and assistance when you're planning your estate to help avoid taxes. You might miss making contributions to a favorite charity. It could be in your mind thinking, oh, I really support this group. For me, it's St. Jude. We've all seen the commercials regularly online, on TV, about the miraculous they work for families of children that are sick. Now, I'm not in a position now where I can be supporting them in a way that I would like. But that doesn't mean at the end of my life, if I have resources left over, that I can't make a nice contribution to them. Isn't it funny how we're living now with the resources we have, mainly money, because we don't know what our future is, because we don't know if we're going to need a big medical crisis, or will, I don't know, have a major need for funding in the future. It's hard to think about how much to keep and how much to give away, especially if you're thinking of your children. When you have children that are struggling, grandchildren struggling, you think, well, I really want to help them. It's very tricky to let go of cash, not knowing if you would need it in the future. We've all heard the stories of somebody that went into a nursing home. You know how many people are aging? Tens of millions of people are aging. And right now, we have no clue what the housing option is going to be for many of us. 40 million, 50 million people. Where are we really going to live? And we've all, maybe not all, for those of us that have been in a nursing home visiting somebody, we look at that scenario and go, ugh, I don't want to live here. Which is very sad, because I feel people in that business, it is a business, mainly want to serve and help people, but not everybody. So I have heard stories, and perhaps you have too, of what I would call predators, people that work in caregiving institutions that, steal from the residents. Or if you try to remain in your home and you bring somebody in, we've also heard those stories where that person could be stealing. So part of your estate plan can be incorporating some kind of protection to make sure that you're not taken advantage of. So how do you go about this? First off, if you're married or have a partner, this is something that is best done together. And your partner might not be ready. Maybe it's your partner that doesn't want to take action, even though you bring it up time and time again. So to get the people on the same page is tricky, isn't it? But you can begin on your own. And as we go through these next few weeks, I'm going to give you some actionable steps that you can take to get started. I said this once before, getting the appointment with the attorney and going there doesn't solve the problem. Your attorney doesn't know you. Even if your attorney knows you, does that mean they know what your wishes are and all the things that you own? Not necessarily. So you have to prepare to go and see the attorney. If you're not in a partnership, this is an action step that you can begin with somebody in your life that you trust, a dear friend, a relative. Call your sister that you know has not done anything about this yet. Mary, let's do it together. It doesn't mean you have to tell Mary everything about you, but you each can go through going through the process together and encourage each other and hold each other accountable to take their action steps. This is a series where I often encourage you to be taking notes. Turn on your computer, get a copybook, a legal pad, something. Especially today, as we go through these 10 steps, jot down the ones that are most pertinent to you. Working through what is standing in your way can really help you to take action. I think I've already said that 2 or 3 times, but it's the truth. We get in our own way. Our fears, our anxieties, our worry not only get in our way from taking action for everything, many things, let's not say everything, for many things, but they also can stop us in our tracks from really getting out there and getting something done. Think about it. Are you willing to start taking 15 minutes a day and get this project done? If you're not ready today, maybe watch this video once or twice and it will spur you on to say no. I want to be relieved of this anxiety, fear, worry, all the sleepless nights pondering, what am I going to do? Join me next week. I already told you, I slipped it in there. Next week, I'm going to talk about dying intestate. We're going to slip in a little bit about probate. Following that will be about family squabbles and how to really tackle your belongings now and what your desire is when you pass away. And we're going to follow it up with a real action step. I'm going to give you a worksheet where you can start making what I call your vendor list. It could also be your service providers, your payees, whatever word you want to use. Because when you become either incapacitated or pass away, somebody has to jump right in there and make sure that, yes, the bills get paid, the services get turned off, and what a mess there can be with all of your computer logins. Sorry to bring up that bad point. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you next week with part 2 of getting your estate planning in order. Bye-bye.